Students with disabilities can be suspended or expelled for violating the school's code of conduct. However, IDEA requires additional procedures schools must follow when disciplining students with disabilities. This lesson will cover the disciplinary procedures, manifestation determination, and protections for students not yet eligible for special education. All students are required to follow rules and expectations for behavior while in school. When students do not follow rules, school personnel have the authority to discipline students. For many students with disabilities, behavior challenges are part of their disability. Some students struggle with impulse control. Another student may not have the social skills needed to interact with peers appropriately. Other students may resort to physical aggression because of their disability. All these examples of challenging behavior may cause a student to receive disciplinary action. Students can be given detention, sent to the office, suspended, or, if the offense is serious enough, they can even be expelled. School personnel have the discretion to consider circumstances and make decisions about discipline on a case-by-case basis. Anytime a student is removed from their learning environment due to violating a school rule or code of conduct, it's considered a disciplinary removal. Now, when it comes to school discipline, students with disabilities have certain protections outlined within the procedural safeguards. First, the procedural safeguards include what's known as a 10-day rule. This means schools can remove a student with a disability who violates school rules for up to 10 days in a row, or for a series of removals that add up to 10 days in a school year. During these 10 days, discipline is assigned as it would be for non-disabled students. After the 10 days of disciplinary removals, or after determining that there was a pattern of removals that adds up to 10 days, if the student violates the code of conduct again, schools must conduct a manifestation determination before assigning additional disciplinary removals. You may also hear it referred to as an MDR. It sounds complicated, but a manifestation determination is simply a process that schools must follow to determine if the student's behavior is a disability-related behavior or not. Just like with the IEP meetings, there are certain requirements that must be followed when holding a manifestation determination. The manifestation determination meeting must take place within 10 school days after the decision to change the child's placement because the student violated the school code of conduct. Parents have the right to receive adequate notice for the MDR meeting, including who the district invited. At the manifestation determination meeting, parents, along with the IEP team, must review the student's record, the current IEP, and any relevant information, including information provided by the parent, to decide if the student's conduct was caused by or has a substantial relationship to the child's disability. They must also determine if the student's behavior was the result of the student's IEP not being implemented. If the team, including the parents, say yes to either of these questions, then the team concludes that the behavior is a manifestation of the child's disability. If the school has failed to implement the IEP as required, they must take immediate actions to fix that. If the student's behavior is a manifestation of their disability, the student cannot be assigned a disciplinary removal, and the student must be returned immediately to the placement they were in prior to the disciplinary removal unless a parent agrees to a different placement. Instead, the team must do one of the following. They must either conduct a functional behavioral assessment and implement a behavior intervention plan, or, if the student already has a behavior intervention plan, the team must review the plan and make any changes necessary to address the behavior. In other words, the school must provide appropriate interventions and services that are designed to address the behavior so that it doesn't happen again. On the other hand, if the behavior is not a manifestation of the student's disability, the student may receive additional disciplinary removals. Let's look at an example to help clarify the manifestation determination process. Tara is a 13-year-old student with a learning disability. She struggles with reading and has to sound out words as she reads, which she finds frustrating. Tara is asked to read a passage out loud in front of her history class. Tara hates reading out loud in front of her friends, so she refuses to read. Her teacher says she'll have to serve detention if she refuses to follow directions. Tara gets upset and walks out of class. Her teacher notifies the principal, and Tara is assigned 2 days of out-of-school suspension for her behavior. If assigned, this will be the 11th and 12th days of suspensions for similar behavior this year. So, what do you think? Should Tara's IEP team hold a manifestation determination? If you said yes, you're correct. Because this incident would go over the allowed 10 days and shows a pattern of removal for similar behavior in one school year, the team must decide if this behavior is related to her disability. Tara's dad, her history teacher, the assistant principal, and her special education teacher meet to discuss the incident. After reviewing the circumstances, the team determines that refusing to read out loud may be directly related to her disability and therefore determine that she should not receive an out-of-school suspension. They review her behavior intervention plan and add a strategy Tara can use to politely refuse to read out loud. They also add an accommodation to her IEP. If the team determined that the behavior was not a manifestation of her disability, then Tara would be removed from her learning environment for more than 10 days in a school year. Disciplinary removals for more than 10 days in a row, or a series of removals totaling more than 10 days that occur for similar reasons, are considered a change in placement because of disciplinary removals. Again, the procedural safeguards have requirements for students with disabilities who are subject to a change of placement because of disciplinary removals. If the removal is for more than 10 school days and the behavior was not a manifestation, the IEP team must decide the services that are appropriate to allow the child to participate and make progress. While students with disabilities are protected from continued disciplinary removals under the procedural safeguards, there are certain offenses that are considered special circumstances where schools may remove a student for up to 45 days, regardless of whether the violation is a manifestation of the child's disability or not. These violations include bringing a weapon to school, using, selling, or soliciting illegal drugs or controlled substances while on school grounds, and inflicting serious bodily injury to another person while on school grounds. Serious bodily injury means more than just hurting a person. Any of these violations may lead a team to change the student's placement to an interim alternative placement, or a different location, for up to 45 days. While placed at the interim alternative setting, the school must provide services and support to the student. Anytime a student with a disability demonstrates conduct that leads to a change of placement because of disciplinary removals, parents must be notified and provided a copy of the procedural safeguards. If parents do not agree with the disciplinary change of placement or the manifestation determination, they have the right to file an expedited due process complaint to challenge the school's decision. Expedited due process hearings are similar to a regular due process hearing with a few variations. The timeline for expedited due process hearings is much shorter, with the hearing occurring within 20 school days and a decision from the hearing officer 10 days after the hearing. Also, in an expedited due process hearing, the stay put provision, or the placement of the student while waiting for a decision, is the interim alternative placement. One final note about disciplinary protections included in the procedural safeguards. These protections apply to students eligible as students with disabilities under the IDEA. They also apply to certain students who are not yet eligible, but for whom the school has reason to suspect may be a student with a disability. What this means is, if you expressed concern in writing to a school leader or teacher that your child may need special education services, requested an evaluation for your child, or if your child's teacher notified the school of their concerns about your child, these protections apply.